Hey guys, welcome back to Slow Travel Chronicles. My name is Stephanie and this is my husband Garrett. And today we are talking about house sitting. First and foremost, we found out about house sitting by being in, or I saw people talking about it in several of the Facebook groups that I'm in, that are people that are nomadic or semi-nomadic, or they're retirees that travel. And a lot of these people use house sitting as a way to offset the cost of accommodation when they travel. So there are several sites you can use to find house sits that work for you and your lifestyle, your time frames, etc. We use Trusted House Sitters. And do you want to tell us about the Trusted House Sitters app?
Sure, you go in there and you can filter house sits based on location and predominantly animals. Most of the people that are looking for house sitters want somebody to take care of their pets. You can get dogs, cats, fish, chicken, pigs, horses. I mean, it runs a whole range of pets,
Yes.
and it's pretty much anywhere in the world. And homeowners join and they post, I'm going to be out of town for this week or this 2 weeks or these 3 days. If anybody wants to come sit with my pets, apply and you talk to them, see if you can work something out. Great.
Yes. And so the actual house sit, you are not paid to do the sit, and you are not paying to be in their house. So it's a free exchange. The only cost associated with the house sit is you do pay an annual fee. It's about $150, $160 at least from a sitter's perspective, and that maintains your background checks, to make sure you're on the up and up. And one of the reasons we wanted to look into house sitting, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people do it to offset the cost of their travel. Some people do it 100% of the time. We wanted to do it potentially to offset the cost of the big cities, the high price cities like Paris. It would be really great to have a sit in Paris for a month for a cat. That would be good. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's, a really important thing to consider, and you can't really filter by this, unfortunately, is level of responsibility. I mean, house sitting is great for people who don't own a house. If you're a digital nomad and you just want to go have some place to stay for a month at a time, it's perfect. You can work, you can take care of cats or dogs or what have you. But it's a little bit different if you're traveling to a tourist destination. You don't want to pick up a week in Paris and you have to walk the dog every 3 hours.
Yes.
So you kind of have to really look carefully at
the
your
response-
situation, the responsibilities required and what your desires and your situation is, because you don't want to go somewhere and find out you got to mow the yard twice a week, you got to feed the dogs 3 times a day, you got to walk the dogs 4 times a day, and you don't have a car.
Yes. So we did our first house sit back in June, so about 2 months ago. And we were very fortunate. We found a house sit in Greenville, South Carolina. And our daughter lives in Greenville, so it was worked out perfectly. They lived about 2, maybe 3 miles from our daughter. They had a pool, a hot tub. They set up a room for our daughter. We couldn't have asked for better people
No, couldn't.
to house sit for. They had 2 dogs and a cat. The dogs had to be walked at 7:30 in the morning and 5:30 at night. Wasn't a big deal. Our daughter was at work during the day. We got up and walked them. They were also really, really nice, and the maid came once a week. I mean, we couldn't ask for a better house sit. The only downside I would say of that house sit was their dogs walked slow. I don't think I've ever
Not
seen.
a downside. The dogs walked slow.
No, it was mine. It was.
Yeah.
It drove me crazy. That's
One
how
of the
slow.
dogs was old, and one of the dogs had feet that was like this tall. The dog couldn't walk fast if it tried.
Anyway, that was the only. I mean, really, I'm being nitpicky.
I know.
I can't help it. That's just who I am. I'm a nitpicker. That was the only bad thing about the sit. I mean, it really was. They let us have access to all their food. They said just
Well-
open drawers and find whatever you need. They were super nice.
Yeah. They had also, those particular homeowners had been involved in house swap deals
In the
in
past.
other apps and stuff in the past. So they were very comfortable with people coming in and staying there. I will say this, after, we were there for 2 weeks. After the first week or so, it started getting a little bit tiring. And I think that is because of just our situation. As Stephanie mentioned, we're semi-nomadic. We have a house. We live in Memphis. We don't need to spend 2 weeks house sitting for somebody the next state over. I think that something you need to consider when you're house sitting is what is your situation and why would you want to house sit? I'd like to house sit to see different areas of the country if I can get away with it without too many responsibilities.
Yes, and the other thing I would say is it feels much different than going to an Airbnb. And when you go to an Airbnb, you feel like you've paid for it. It's very transactional. You feel like you have. You feel like you can put your stuff everywhere.
you're
and
renting
they don't have all of the stuff a person has in their house. So
Right. It's the difference between renting a furnished apartment and staying at your grandmother's house for a week.
yes. So you don't feel as comfortable, I would say,
Yeah.
or at least we didn't. Maybe if we have a few more house sits under our belt, we would, but it just didn't feel.
It was
at least
different.
it was different. So, would we do it again?
Yes. I think that we would do it again. My view of it is if we are traveling somewhere and we don't want a hotel room, but we're willing to stay somewhere for 2 or 3 days for like a long weekend, great. Because a lot of the house sits that we looked at were for weekend trips. I mean, you could tell it's weekend getaways because so many of them begin like on a Friday and end on a Sunday, or they begin on a Thursday to Sunday. Or they're designed around 1 week vacations from like a Friday to the following week plus a couple of days. So, if we were driving somewhere and say, hey, we're driving to Seattle, but let's stop in Denver for 3 or 4 days. Perfect.
Yes.
But
Paris for a month, perfect.
Yeah.
With a cat.
With caveats.
Yeah.
But would I want to do it just to do it? No, not really.
No, we don't need to do it. We just thought, it's worth a shot. I think you should give it a shot if it's something you're considering. You won't know. I would definitely say interview and talk with the host, if at all possible. We were approved for one sit, and they just approved us, and they never spoke with us, and we were so excited. I hit approve, and then I regretted doing that. I was like, I don't know if this is the right thing for us. Well, fortunately for us, they canceled because of a medical emergency. Sorry, I don't mean I'm happy about their medical emergency, but I felt relieved that I didn't have to go there, having not spoken with them. And
I think it would have been nicer than the one in Greenville, but whatever.
it might. Well, they said they had bears, and I'm afraid of bears. But the other thing would be to definitely read not only the responsibilities, but read the description of the pets. There was one that we applied to that I actually missed, that the dog, you had to meet the dog on a muzzle for an hour or two before you were left with the dog. And that's just like, I don't want a dog that is that mean to take care of, or has the potential to be that mean. It's just not worth it to me. So I think we probably will do it again if we can find the right sit. It has to be perfect going forward.
It is an option to keep open,
So,
I think, is the best way of looking at it. And, whether we will use it again, I don't know. But I like the idea of having the option for various scenarios. Like I said, particularly if you're driving across the country and want to take a weekend where you're not driving, or like Stephanie said, if you're in London and a cat, or Paris and a cat. I think those are few and far between, but keeping your options open is always good.
I guess we'll know what we're doing this coming December, because we have to pay to renew.
Oh yeah, yeehaw.
Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. Please come back each and every Thursday to see where our adventures take us. And as always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the things. It really does help our channel out. Have a great weekend. See you next week.
Yep, later.